introduced genetically modified organisms into Kenya's food system through its ties to the controversial AGRA, Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, and direct partnerships with companies like Monsanto. The foundation advocated for the liberalization of Kenya's seed laws. Critics accuse Gates Foundation of pushing smallholder farmers into dependency on foreign seed and fertilizer companies, undermining indigenous farming practices and food sovereignty. They came, quote, they came to us, it's like, quote, they came to save us, but ended up selling us, says farmer activist Zipporah Mumo from Katali. Now we can't plant without buying seed. That's not agriculture, that's captivity. In 2022, the lifting of Kenya's ban on GMOs sparked public outrage. Civil society groups staged protests questioning not just the science, but the politics of food. Gates, often silent, became the focal point of blame. The belief that Kenya was being used as a laboratory for biotech experiments without adequate local consent fueled the fire, you see. Kenya is, that's exactly what Kenya is, man. Is a stomping ground for experiments, man. And they started out, you saw the iris scan, and like they're way ahead of, the world as far as, maybe China might be way ahead, probably is. But as far as on any other part of the world, man, they're forcing this down these people's throats, man. So just bringing that out, man. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices. This devil, he's really, really pushing hard to get people on board. We know sooner or later he's going to be like, man, to hell with this. Y'all don't want to do it, then we're going to have to, push our psyopsis a little harder to make it seem like, hey, this is a security thing. This is an international security thing, And so if you don't get down with it, that means that you're part of, you're a T or whatever. So hey, this is a real deal. Devil, Esau, Edom, so-called white man, starting with his elite bankers. All right. Pushing that ordo ab chaos. Let's grab a definition for that. All right, this is a definition for ordo ab chaos. Ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. Their order, the trick of creating chaos and then seizing power under the pretense of putting things back in order, is a tried and true method of deception and manipulation. Tried and true. They've been doing this type of thing. It's also mentioned as the Hegelian dialectic, controlled opposition, or problem, reaction, solution. It's a framework for guiding thoughts and actions into conflicts that lead to synthetic solutions, which can only be introduced once those being manipulated take a side that will advance the predetermined agenda. Right. So they're manipulating the minds in order to push forth the quote-unquote solution that they have. And their solution is just more control over the people, a greater yoke, if you will, tightening of the shackles on on your ankles and your wrists and your damn neck and your mind, you know. And hey, this guy's no joke, man. Let's go to Job 30 real quick. You know, dealing with this devil, man. It says, it's Job 30 at the top. I would read in the NLT. It says, "But now I am mocked, by people younger than I." And that's talking about Esau, the so-called white man. All right, younger in spirit. All right. It says, "By young men whose fathers are not worthy to run with my sheepdogs." Right, and it really hits a little better in the KJV. I'll read it there. It's this verse, Job 30:1. "But now they that are younger than I have me in derision." Right, derision. They have you in straits, man, in slavery, basically. Let's get the word derision. It's H7832. Shahak, all right, and it's to laugh, to play, to mock, all right, to jest. That's what they do to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. They laugh at your calamity. They, come on, man. They don't take you guys seriously, all right. It says, "Whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock." Right. That's a way of saying, man, I wouldn't even let my dogs be around these guys, man. Because they're base men, and who knows what they'll do to your dogs, man. They could eat them. They could lay down with them. Verse 2, "Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished? For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste." Right, so they're up in the Caucasus Mountains at one time in a very low estate. I believe Revelation, if I'm not mistaken, the 20th chapter goes into that. During the time of the Byzantine Empire, where Jake was basically ruling the Roman Empire, by way of the Byzantine Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire. All right, and these Edomites, they were in a very low estate. They had a chain around their neck, by way of the Lord, and they were in that's why they call that time the Dark Ages. It wasn't dark for Jake. Jake was getting down. It was dark for Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. He was in a low estate, right? So a lot of this stuff is just from their point of view. It's from their point of view, A lot of this history talk, and a lot of our people don't understand that. They're talking from their point of view. They're not talking about from who you were, what you were doing, which most of our people don't know who they are. But anyways, it says, "Fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste." Job 30:4, "Who cut up mallows by bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the clefts of the valleys and caves of the earth and in the rocks." This is why they call Caucasians. "Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together." All right. And that's just speaking of how low they were. Esau goes into this caveman character, which really they're talking about themselves. Job 30:8, "They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth." All right, and that's talking about Esau, even the so-called white man. They're base, meaning very low. And they're vile, man. Scriptures speak about how this devil is the soul that is lifted up, meaning lifted up in pride. It's not upright in him. So it's just not right for him to do anything right. So you always have to keep your eye on his ass, man. Because that's what he is. He's the devil. He's Satan on earth. Satan in the flesh. And our people, a lot of our people it's starting to come out that that's what he is, man. Everybody's starting to realize that. All the nations are starting to realize that. And sooner or later, the nations, as it's written, the nations shall hate the whore, all right, and burn her with fire. That's that nuclear destruction. These nations gonna be pissed off enough to say, man, enough is enough, man. Get this motherfucker out of here, man. And we'll figure it out after this guy's out of here. All right. So just going into more of how this devil's being exposed, and how he's just he is who he is, man, and you can't change that. Nobody can change that. Can't save him. He's not going to be saved. He's going to be punished for all the crap that he's done, man. He's going to drink of that cup double. All right. How does it say? He shall surely drink. All right. This is Jeremiah 49:12. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken. Right. So we had to drink of that cup in form of slavery and captivity. It says, and art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? So are you devils, y'all gonna go unpunished for touching the apple of the Lord's eye, for touching the Lord's chosen? It says, thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. You're gonna drink of that cup. You're gonna drink it down. You're going into captivity for 1,000 years, and then you're gonna be destroyed, as it's written in the book of Obadiah, man. It's the Lord willing, that was edifying. I want to give all glory, honor, and praise to Yahweh, Shem Yahweh Shai, Shem Chakadash, double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone, teacher, well, and shalom to the elect, shalom.